Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, Dane's Great Journey. We're back with another video. I told you guys I'd be making more content as I've been on a slump this first half of 2020. And if you're tuning in, you want to learn a little bit more about working for a startup. So I wanted to make a video of why you should join a startup. That's the title of this video today. And there's going to be pros and cons. I want to list the reasons why I think you should join a startup if that's something you're considering. Maybe you're young, maybe you're coming out of college and you're thinking about going to work for a big company or a small company. We're going to get into all that. So I'll share with you today 10 benefits or reasons I think you should join a startup. Again, it depends on your age and some other things you might want to factor in, but this is for someone who's fiddling around with the idea of joining a startup. So we'll get into the 10 benefits that I've written down and kind of thought about as I've had experience working for a startup for about 5 years now, different startups, more than one. And I'll share those with you. And to give you some context too, before we jump in, I've been in either a sales role or like an account manager, customer success role within the startups I've worked for. So that's kind of my experience in the roles that I've been in. You might be going into that same type of field. Maybe it's sales, maybe it's partnerships, business development, marketing. There's a lot of different fields, operations, finance, etc. Before we get started, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet. If you want to see more videos like this and you enjoy watching stuff like this, it helps us grow. And I know I don't ask about that a lot. I should, because we're still a little bit of a small channel. Even though I've been doing this for 8-9 years, it's been some time. So let's jump in. What are the reasons why I think you should join a startup? I'll give you those 10 right now. First one I thought of was fun environment. If you're someone looking to join a startup, that's one thing to consider. Every experience I've had in the startups I've worked for, they've been fun working environments. You have a lot of young people. You have a lot of creative type professionals and people who are all working towards a goal and just running a million miles an hour. I like that type of environment. It's fun. And if I can make a job fun, then I'm going to try to do that. So that's the first one. Second one I'd say is constant change. With any startup, depending on the life cycle of where that startup is, it's going to be constantly changing. I know from one company I worked for, I had like 4 different roles within a short period of time. Within the first year of joining the second startup I worked for, Emailage, I had a different role. So things constantly change. And if you like change, then that's something to consider as well. Another thing I'd say is accelerated learning. Joining a startup, you're going to learn so much so fast versus, let's say, a typical Fortune 500 company that has a specific path that you go down. In a startup, you learn not just your job, you learn about the company, you learn about the initiatives, the different types of missions that the company's on, and it's very exciting. So that's another thing to consider as well too. Next, creative innovation. When you're working for a startup, there are big goals and things that the company is trying to achieve every month, every quarter, every year. So that innovation is constantly taking place and the plans are constantly being changed. If you know, a lot of startups don't make it. A lot of startups fail. That's maybe another thing to consider. There's a lot of uncertainty, which I'll get into as well. That's probably one of the cons. But the innovation happens so fast, and it's really exciting to be a part of that, especially if you're someone young in your career. You can get a lot of experience fast. So that creative innovation is another thing to consider. Another one, fast-paced environment. So I know I talked about the fun environment, but the environment, the fast-paced side of things is very quick. The company is trying to achieve very quick goals and trying to hit milestones as fast as they can because you only have so much run room with the funding or just the ability to innovate and beat the competition. So things are changing as well as moving incredibly fast. If you're someone who likes to adapt, you're quickly able to adapt to different situations. That's another thing to consider for sure. Another one that's one of the key ones to think about and consider when joining a startup is ownership in the company. So depending again on the life cycle, the financing, whether that's A, B, C, D, wherever that is in terms of the company that you're joining, a lot of companies offer ownership in the company. And what comes with that is the ability to benefit from the upside of the business. And one of those things could be an IPO in the future. It could be getting bought out. The company I worked for got bought for $500 million, and I got to benefit from that upside. So that's something to consider. Again, it's rare, it's unique. It might take you 10 years being in the industry of working for different SaaS companies, but that is something that not only comes with, the upside, the success, the money, the monetary stuff that you get from that, but also to be a part of that It's really exciting. And my last company I worked for, I got to be a part of that, and we got to do and accomplish so many things and then hit the end result, which was create a company that really innovated and was considered a top player in the space, but then validating that by getting bought by a bigger company. So ownership in a company is huge, and it really shows you that everyone's input, everyone's contribution, everyone's work ethic and ideas are valued. And you might not get that working for a bigger company. So that's definitely something really, really important to consider. Next, career advancement. And I say career advancement because you're able to do so many things. You're able to wear multiple hats at a startup, and you're able to advance your career a little bit faster. Maybe you join a startup and you're the 20th employee, and you're able to get promoted a lot quicker. I know a lot of young people, millennials maybe, who are watching this. That's something that millennials want. They want to move up quickly. They want to be able to innovate. They want to be able to contribute to an organization. And the organizations that you're going to be able to do that the fastest at are going to be startups. That's from my personal experience. I know with a bigger company, there's more of a linear path that has certain things, that criteria that you need to meet in order to do that. That might take a little bit longer. Again, you have to be good. You have to be able to deliver, but that might give you the exposure you need to advance your career faster, and then you might go work for a bigger company afterwards. So career advancement is really important. Another one, close collaboration. I put that there because you get to collaborate with so many people in the organization. I knew everyone in the company pretty much because you collaborate with so many different departments. I was working in sales. I got to collaborate with marketing. I got to collaborate with finance. I got to collaborate with operations. I got to collaborate with the C-level executives at the company. I could go and walk into the CEO, owner, founder of the company's office because he was in the office every day. That's something you might not get working for a company that has 50,000 employees and you're stationed in California and everyone else is stationed somewhere else. So that close collaboration is amazing if that's something that you're looking for, and a huge benefit of working for a smaller organization, a startup, if you will. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that word, but if you're enjoying this video so far, give us a thumbs up. That helps us reach more people. Okay, let's go to the next one. Skills development. I put this as another benefit because you get to develop so many skills. When you're working for a startup, like I said before, you get to wear multiple hats. So you might be working, even though it's not your main job, you might be working with the marketing department on coming up with a new initiative to engage customers or re-engage customers that have been, let's say, not engaging with your company as much as the ones that are. You get to maybe work with operations on a new initiative, even though you're not in the operations team. The collective collaboration, like I mentioned on the last one, is everyone's input is wanted. There's a lot of smart people. Everyone has a unique perspective, and you get to develop these skills that you might not develop working for a bigger company because those companies have the resources. Those companies have the people in place to be able to do those things, and they might not need your input. And it's not that it's bad to not get your input. It's just a startup gives you a lot more of that ability. So the skills development side is huge. And then company transparency is another one I wrote down. I know I'm kind of looking over here. I want to make sure I hit on all these points. There's a lot of points I took some time to kind of really think about in terms of what is important. So the last one, and this is the 10th one, and then I'll go over all of them again, is company transparency. When you work for a company that's a smaller company, that's a private company, a startup, a sales software company, whatever it might be, they are very transparent in terms of how the company is doing. They're going to share with you things that you might not get working for a bigger company because everyone has ownership in the result of what the company's mission is, what the company's vision is, and the leadership wants everyone to be on the same page. It's different for every company. Not every startup is going to do this for you. I've been fortunate for the startups I've worked for. The company was transparent. They let us know what was good, but they also let us know what was bad. They also were transparent in saying, hey, we need to get this done or this is going to happen. And again, it's a little bit different of environment. There's a lot of pressure. With any job, you have pressure, but with startups, you have even more pressure, in my opinion, just because you're trying to accomplish things in a very short period of time. Because again, you have so much funding, you have so much money in the bank, you need to make more to grow. And again, the growth rate is so fast. So I'll reread you the 10 that I just shared with you because I think these reflecting on my experience again, were the biggest. 1, you got a fun environment. 2, constant change. 3, accelerated learning. 4, creative innovation. 5, fast-paced environment. 6, ownership in the company, huge if you want to be a part of the company in that way. 7, career development. 8, close collaboration. 9, skills development. And then 10, company transparency. Again, there can be other ones. You might have some. I'd love to know what, if you've worked for a startup, what were the benefits you got? Was there something I missed from my experience that I didn't share today? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Now, let's go to the other side of the coin. Because it's not all just roses and rainbows and yay, we get to work for a company that we get ownership in and we could potentially make money when the company sells and I get to advance my career so much faster. I get to learn so much. I get to wear so many hats. Yes, those are all good things. And me personally, I always like to look at the upside of any opportunity. But you can't be blind to the downsides of the opportunity as well. You need to understand what you're also getting involved in because risk comes with any opportunity. There's always going to be risk with the reward side too. So I wrote down about 6 cons that I thought of in regards to why it might be risky to join. And again, it takes a specific person to be successful and enjoy the process of working for a smaller private startup type software company. So let's get into the cons. First one I put is limited resources. And I put limited resources because it depends on how much funding the company has. It depends on how much financing the company has, how much run rate, how many months do we have before we go under. Again, remember, the majority of startups fail. So if you're going to join one, you need to understand that that could be a potential future where you might not have a job. High level of uncertainty when you're working for a smaller company. So limited resources. And what also comes with limited resources is you might not get to participate in things like career development, personal development, leadership development, all this additional training a bigger company might have the budget for. So that's something that you are giving up with the benefits that you're also getting by joining. So that's the first one. The second one I said, the pay could be less. So your salary might not be as much as your salary at a Fortune 500 company because the money the company has to actually allocate towards the employees. So you have to ask yourself, is going and working for this startup at this salary of $35,000, $45,000 going to be enough for me to live below my means and still make my way to make this work? You have to ask yourself that. You might not make as much. You also could, depending on what you're doing. You might be an engineer, and engineers at startups get paid maybe above average salaries. But an engineer, I would argue, an engineer at a startup that's maybe 2 or 3 years in is going to make less money than an engineer that's maybe working at Facebook or one of the other big software companies that has billions of dollars in revenue and budget to buy the best talent, to bring on the best talent. So you're going to give up a little salary. That's been my experience. But I also looked at the future outcome that could come from that. Okay, I'm going to give up this let's say bigger salary I could get somewhere else, but I'm giving that up because I'm getting ownership in the company. If I get ownership in the company and we hit our marks and I either get stock in a future IPO or I get a buyout if the company sells, I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to take a little bit less money here in return for a bigger payout in a few years. And that's what happened at one of the companies I worked at. And maybe I'll make another video of that in another future video. So that's something you have to consider. Next, leadership challenges. Sometimes the leadership team might be younger. Sometimes your boss might be younger than you. And sometimes they might not have that experience. Startups will typically hire someone with less experience than a bigger company because they're going to bet on someone to see if they can deliver and do a good job. And if they don't, they'll fire them and they'll bring someone else in. So it's performance-based. But a lot of startup companies have younger leaders and maybe just not as experienced leaders. So that's something you need to consider. But if you're going to work for a Fortune 500, they might have a great leadership team, a little bit better than a startup. I'm not saying you're not going to have a wonderful leadership team or an amazing leadership team at a startup company. It really just depends on the founder and the investors and what type of leadership team they bring to the table. I've been fortunate to work with some amazing leaders in my experience, but for others and from people in the community I've spoken to, other leadership teams have been a disaster, whether that's age, experience, etc. So that's something to consider as well in terms of cons. Another thing, it's not a 40-hour work week. I wanted to put that out there too. you work way more than 40 hours a week. You might work 50, 60, 70, 80. And the reason I say that is you have to do so much, and the expectation is very high, and the goals are so ridiculous because you're trying to hit milestones. In my experience, I've never worked 40 hours a week for a startup. So if you're looking to clock in and clock out and 40 hours is your stuff, you got a family, you want to be in the office and out of the office, and this is all I want to do, and I want to just have this one role, then I wouldn't recommend it. But again, you have ownership in the company. You're basically right next to the owner. Yeah, you might not have as much, but they're giving you equity in the company. So they expect you to want to put in a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time. So I have to mention that. And if you're young, again, this is why I'm prefacing it to people who are right out of college, or maybe you're a few years out of college. Take that. It's such a wonderful learning experience from all the pros I mentioned earlier. And you're going to learn so much. You're going to accelerate your growth. You're going to learn. You're going to develop all these skills. Those are the pros. But again, it depends on your personal situation. So I don't want to lead you down one path. You got to make you got to make that decision for yourself. Next, uncertainty. I mentioned this already before. Job uncertainty is one. Pay uncertainty. Career uncertainty. There is so much uncertainty that comes with working for a startup. And I'm assuming you can put all those pieces together, especially because a lot of companies fail in this sector. If you like uncertainty, maybe it's a good opportunity. I love certainty, but I also like uncertainty. So I found a good balance, and I was able to figure out the risk that I was able to tolerate. So I didn't just join. I wasn't the 10th employee or the 20th employee. I fell more in the 60th to 60 to like 80 range employee within a company. So that was my level of certainty I could handle. I didn't want to be the second guy, but I didn't want to be the 20th guy either. I wanted to be somewhere where the company was already kind of moving, already had some track record, and now they were really kind of in that mode to bring on new people and accelerate the growth. Again, it depends on you, but something to consider too. If you're earlier to join a startup, you might get more stock options. You might get more ownership opportunity, and you'll be able to be put into a position to maybe even join the leadership team. That happens. People have joined technology companies in an individual contributor role, and they made it to the leadership team, C-level team. This happens. So if you're someone ambitious, someone willing to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week at times, maybe even more, and you want to be in a leadership position, you want to affect the mission and the vision of the company, find that position for yourself. Find that new company that's got one person or two people, and they're looking for people. They're looking for people who see massive potential and can buy into the vision and mission of what they're trying to accomplish. Last, multiple duties and responsibilities. I put this as a con because some people don't want to do more than one thing. With a startup, they're going to ask you to do more than your job, your day-to-day, because they need help. It's all hands on deck. We need everyone doing everything. I'm not saying you're going to have 10 different jobs, but you will carry more responsibilities than just one because they need input. They need help. They need as much collaboration. They're bringing as many people as they can together who are enthusiastic. That's what I've always seen with the startups I've worked for. High energy, enthusiasm, open-mindedness, optimism, resilience, hard work. These are constant skills and characteristical traits, if that's even a word, of people who thrive in this type of environment. I'll read the cons really quickly to you, and then we'll end because I know this video is already at 20 minutes. But I hope it's helping you. Again, thumbs up the video if this is helpful. Thumbs it down if it's not. I want the feedback. So the cons: limited resources, the pay could be less, leadership challenges, not a 40-hour work week, job uncertainty, multiple duties, multiple hats. Those are the cons. So let me know what you think. I'd love to know what you think. My experience has been amazing working for a startup. I've enjoyed it. Has there been hard times? Yes. Have I wanted to reevaluate my career at times? Yes. That's what comes with the territory. But also, there's so much upside that comes with the territory that I mentioned earlier in this video. I've been part of a company that was really difficult. I've been part of a company that's been amazing. I've seen both sides of the equation. And now, which I'll share in future videos, is I work with a bigger company now because the last startup I worked for got acquired by a massive organization. And now I'm transitioning into a new role within that organization. And now I'll get to share with you all the things I learned from working for a bigger company, because now it's my time in my career. I'm 28 years old, that I'm looking to shift from that startup environment that I might have wanted to be in from 21 to 27 to see and learn and get so much experience that I can then take to a bigger company that has more, resources and people in place and leadership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll share that in a future video on my experience, because I've never worked for a big company. And the company I work for has thousands and thousands of employees. Future video to come, of course. So make sure you subscribe so you can see that video in the future. If you like this video, again, like, thumbs it up, whatever it is that you do. And if you have any questions about my video, leave a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Where are you at in your career life cycle? Are you considering joining one? Maybe you want to, maybe you don't. I'd say the best track is for someone who's younger to join a startup, maybe a couple of them before joining a big company. So I think the best opportunity is right out of college to do that, and then transition like I've transitioned to a bigger organization versus working for a big company, then working for a small company. Or like I've seen some people do, they've worked for a startup, they've been able to be put in management experience, they go work for a bigger company for a couple of years, then they come back to the startup scene to be a leader within a smaller organization. Lots of different tracks here, lots of different options, lots of different opportunities. But I hope you look at it with an open mind, and maybe you look to join a startup. See what you can do today. Take something away from this to take action in helping your career, because that's what I'm all about on my journey, is sharing with you guys things that have helped me to ultimately help you and share more positivity, open-mindedness, things I'm learning on my journey, hence Dane's Great Journey. So we'll end there. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.